Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel for today's video. I wanted to talk to you about when the narcissist had whatever they call grade A supply or super duper supply. They don't just replace you. So let's jump in. So a lot of people suggest and have the wrong assumption or idea that when a narcissist has had the primary supply that was heavily empathic, the grade A supply, or the primary primo supply, the grade A supply, the 105 fuel type supply, not the 86 fuel, not the 87. It's not like they could just get somebody else in that position. Because like I said, the benefits that come with you versus the benefits that come with anybody else, it's just not the same. They don't miss you, they just get new supply. That's not really true. They have to get new supply. It's kind of like how you eat a meal. They have to go out and get new supply. And it's just not going to give them the same benefits. If you worked for a big corporation and you had health insurance that came with the company, a retirement fund, a high-paying salary, and all these little perks. You get discounts at hotels when you go there and discounts at the gas station, all that. And then you go down to working at some mom and pop type company doing the same thing, but they don't have all those perks and benefits. They don't have that salary. They can't afford it. But this is, for instance, somebody who got cut out of a job or something and they had to go to something smaller. And that's kind of like how it is when they lose their primary supply and they're forced to put somebody else in there, because they usually don't get that empathic type supply like you or I were, the one that got damaged heavily through this situation. They are very damaging to anybody they're with. A lot of times they get with real toxic individuals or somebody similar to them on their vibration level, which is under a 200 on the vibrational chart. When you got a vibrational chart that goes from 20 to 1,000. You're to vibrate on the feelings of love is a 500. Just to give you an idea of how low they are. When you are at that low level, if you could picture the morning, the afternoon, and the evening, and the night, that vibrational chart would be a vibrational chart that's not one that we live on. If you could picture vibrations as levels of a world. So if you have 0 to 199 is here, and then 200 to 399 is here, and 400 to 599 is here. Now love's at a 500, just to give you an idea, but it goes to 1,000. Now when you're vibrating on, like, say, a 600, and they're way down here below 199, they could be at 100 or something. They're in a different world. If you could picture the different times of the day, they would be like the nighttime. I'm just giving you examples, but that's kind of the idea that I get. They're going to end up with more of the people of the streets, typically, because people of the streets typically run on a low vibration. They're going to be gangsters and drug dealers, and people who have the thinking of evil in their heart, because a low vibration is the manifestation that shows up in the physical realm when somebody is on that playing field, that plane, that plateau. And as much as you all think we're in the same world here, you know how I talk about angles all the time? They have to see things from a different angle. They have to. Because if they're looking at like a 600 or 700 energetic body, vibrational level, they're going to look at it like that's a high achiever, because it's like they're not normally dealing with those types of individuals. That's why a lot of people say when you meet a narcissist, if you were a high energetic empath, there's several things that could have occurred. Either you could have been through some trauma that brought your vibrational level down. And when you went through trauma or bereavement, which is bereavement overload, is kind of like several things happening all at once, and you are having a tough time getting over these things. That brings your vibration level down, and then guess who you see? You run into the narcissist because now you're like almost vibing on the same level. Now, maybe if you would have not met them in 30 days, maybe you would have raised up to here, and you guys would have crossed, but maybe not even talked. You see? But because you're on the same level, because you got pulled down to here, and this is where they reside, you guys connected. Now, that's one way that it could have occurred. The other ways are, for instance, you stay on a low vibration, and that could occur if you come out of a narcissistic family unit and you don't have any kind of healing or very little healing yourself. That's how a lot of empaths, they have a lot of potential, but they didn't wake up because they internalized everything that was told to them. And that's why I always preach on here that when you're getting attacked heavily with accusations and words and all these mean things that the narcissist is saying, when you're absorbing it, you're not only absorbing it, but when you refuse this one thing, like you refuse that energy, but when you're unawoke, you start to absorb it in most cases. And because you do that, you're also internalizing it. And that's where it becomes detrimental, meaning you start to believe these things. It's not that they're just saying it and you're like, whatever, she always talks like that, or he always talks like that. And you know it's just BS. But different things can happen. Either conditioning can occur over time. They just keep you down for so long and there's nothing positive in your life because you're with this individual and they're always projecting on you and around you and stealing your vibrational energy. If you don't have times to recover, then you're going to eventually internalize it. Or I think when you really care about an individual, you can sometimes internalize it if you don't see through the facade quite the way you should. It can have long-lasting effects. So then if, let's say, you leave the narcissist, you may not really recover because you believed what was projected upon you, and you did when you were a child as well. So now you have the childhood projections that gave you an inferiority complex. So then you leave the childhood home and then you meet a narcissist and they continue on with the cursing. And so that's why I hate that there's so much unawareness of the title of narcissism, because it's unfortunate. It causes a lot of trouble to people, to individuals. It can wreck your whole life. And you could never wake up to understanding that there's this thing out there called narcissism. And these are the different tactics and ways that this occurs. And it's when you were born. It's very unfair. It's unjust when you look at it like that. I mean, from a society standpoint, it's not unjust from a standpoint of God, because if you're born into a generational curse, then it's something that somebody did in your bloodline that you have to pay for, whether you like it or not. Down to the fourth generation is what it says in the word. There's several reasons why you're not innocent as well in the spiritual sense or with God. And that is because when you're with an individual for a period of time, it should be aware to you that they're doing evil. And for you to stay in it is not just. For you to back them up, it's not just. Take care of them and supply their needs is almost like you're aiding and embedding a fugitive. That's kind of the idea that comes to mind, because you're putting a fake facade up for an evildoer. So you're kind of giving them a false sense of good approval, because when people see your character, they automatically stamp who you're with as having good character. And then people can be blindsided by that. It just takes truth and it turns truth into a half truth, and you can't do that. The other thing is, if you have a really good relationship with the Lord, you would avoid all this, because if you read the word and do what it says, I'm at guilt for this first, so I'm not putting it on nobody. This is me speaking to the choir first, or I'm speaking to myself first. But if we were operating the way the word truly says we should, we would have never gotten in these situations, or we would have left it. But a lot of times, what keeps you in it is sometimes it could be codependency, it could be lust, it could be that you feel they're hurt and you want to help, the fixer, and that's never good. People have to fix themselves. But there's different things. Of course, the trauma bond and things like that. But these are reasons why you have to pay for it. And on another note, you naturally should navigate or feel driven to boundaries. If you love yourself, boundaries, you should understand consents, covenants, and contracts as far as whenever you decide to be friends with somebody or have a relationship with somebody. Shake their hands, spend a lot of time with them, spend money on them, and allow them in your home. All of these things are covenants, contracts, and consents. And you also have free will. So boundaries, free will, and covenants, contracts, and consents. Those are kind of universal laws that God put into the foundation system of the world that really truly everybody should know or be able to spot. And a lot of times we do spot them, but we get sidetracked or we refuse them. They're red flags that have been crossed. And so then you have to pay for some of whatever they're doing every day. That's why you start to reap a lot of negativity as a companion with them, because they're doing stuff that's not right out there and about when they leave the house or even in the house, and you are in covenant with them. So when there's a web and they're here and you're here in the center of this fuel matrix, and they have maybe other lovers, connections, and friends and relatives out here connected to their web, meaning when they get hit with negative reaping, it hits everybody a little bit. So they like to have a lot of people in their web because then they get hit with less. That's why you want to watch even your friends or bad relatives. And that's how it works. But mainly you and them get it because you're the one feeding them every day. So this is kind of what happens. And what they need that high-end supply for, it gives them fuel. It's almost like they're really fueling up with supreme fuel at the gas pump. Really good fuel. The primo fuel. They become very powerful from where they are on that 87 octane and what they can do on that 105 octane. They can manifest with it. See, when you're on a 199 or less, you can't manifest very much, meaning you can't get a lot done. You don't have a whole lot of energy to do anything, and you can't be very creative. You don't think with, your thoughts are not in a good place. They want to elevate, and to elevate, they have to have your fuel. But what it does is it reverses you. So then you go down here and they become you. That's why they practice being you. Your mannerisms, the ways you talk, the jokes you use to make people laugh, whatever. The way you walk. They want to embody you. And that's why they project onto you who they truly are and what they're truly doing. And they want you to internalize it. That way, when they tell you you're doing it or you did it, you accept it as if you did. And then you end up getting negative reaping because you accepted their negative energy as the one who did it. It's almost like you're sacrificing your positive energy, your beautiful fuel, and you're giving it to them. And then you're going to receive fuel of like they cheated. And you're going to accept that negative sin, those negative emotions. Because if you accept those negative emotions, it's almost like then it turns into sin. It's sin. So now you have to get forgiven for their sin. And it's like they don't truly want to repent. So they fling it on people and have people absorb it, and they groomed you. This has been going on for generations. And they cloak themselves in energy that walks in the nine fruits of the spirit that they can't. Love, joy, peace, goodness, gentleness, good self-control, all these things that they don't have. They don't have these. They have chaos, hate, anger, jealousy, greed, hoarding, all of these. And that's why they're on that low level. And on that low level, you get susceptible to the the fallen realm, the realm of the enemy, which is you're talking about now negative spirits. And then it becomes much worse. So they still are the same person when they cloak themselves in your energy, but they're able to manifest new things into their life, except they're not manifesting things that are good for you or them or for the world. They're manifesting manipulations out there. So they're taking down higher end sources of supply because now they're up on this level, right? They're manifesting items, new cars, and they're going on trips and going to like wild parties that, uh, and having the ability to invest in the world in ways that we don't even know. So they can manifest a lot off of your energy because they have help from the underworld, these negative spirits. So it's almost like if you had an accountant and all those types, or an advisor, a financial advisor, they get help from this negative energy to take your manifesting energy, your fuel, and put it into stuff that's going to invest quickly for them. And a lot of times they can be bad ideas, but when you don't have love either, you can have the ability to have a lot of guts, like they don't have the guts to do that. Well, when it comes to the narcissist, they do. Because a lot of them don't have remorse, they don't have any love, and they walk and live in not peace but chaos. So when they go to do these things, it's like they may feel anxiety, but some don't even feel anxiety. So they don't feel remorse like we do. So it's much easier for them to be successful because they're gonna be that clutch individual. They're gonna be like when you need Kobe Bryant to make the last basket to win the game, or Michael Jordan or something. That's what the narcissist would be when it comes to criminal activity. Because they don't get scared, they don't get nervous, they don't feel bad, they don't think about the repercussions and all these things. So they will manifest with your energy that way and try to get quick money and these Ponzi schemers and all of that type stuff. But people that get in trouble for that stuff are narcissists. Typically, you're not going to find some empathic individual doing that. But it's very imperative that you have to heal from the family unit or when you come out of a narcissist relationship so that you can change, grow, and let go of the past and elevate to who you truly should be. But it's almost like empaths are always born into these families and they're really needed in this world today. But the enemy doesn't want this type of love out there, doesn't want it to be a common thing. So he sends all these street soldiers out here to put us down. It might have a bright light and you'd be like, wow, it's great. I love that light. I can see everything. Well, the enemy always does things under the cover of darkness, and there's something to say about that. A bright light does a lot of things. And you were born a bright light, but it gets dimmed real quickly in these families. Because unbeknownst to you, you believe that what they have groomed you into to be used for a supply source for your caregiver and the people in the household, how they project upon you. You don't know what energy is yours and what's theirs, and you don't know good boundaries, and you don't believe in yourself. You don't have hope and faith in yourself. You don't love yourself. You have inferiority complexes that they pushed into you. They told you you could never do certain things, and they purposefully made you unsuccessful. Meaning, if you need stuff for school, you're not going to get it the way you should. You're not going to get fed right. You're not going to get help when you're a child and you need help, a little bit of direction. And I'm not saying it's like completely like that, But what you're also going to find is that they're not vulnerable. And when people aren't vulnerable, then that was one thing I just never understood. I never understood why they couldn't be vulnerable, but now I get it. So they can't, they miss you a lot. And truly, they probably think that they miss you, but in all actuality, they they may, but how it seems to work is there's like this Jekyll and Hyde in there. It's like there's two voices, and one voice is used and it sounds true, and it may be, but that voice is, let's say that voice is the person who was born into this body, right? Well, that person is only allowed to talk when they're in disarray and they don't have any forms of supply. So the true person may cry out to you because they actually did love the love and the care that you gave them and the support. But then once you get back into the cycling with them, it goes downhill real quick, right? And that's because that person is suppressed, and then you have the other person come out. It's like then the manipulator shows up and they don't care. So it's something like that. And it becomes so, they become so intertwined with these spirits, it's just very hard to just weather it. But it's horrible, and it's very devastating to an individual of goodness. And it will wreak havoc on your whole life if you don't get away from them. And I'm not even trying to throw shade, it just is what it is. Because you can see a lot of good qualities or potential in them, but you also know things will never change. They miss you, though. They miss you or need you and feel that lack, because they usually go somewhat downhill when you're not with them anymore. If you were the primary supply, you were that grade A supply, the 105 fuel, and then when they don't have you anymore, which they have other forms of supply because that's all they do. But with that, it's like what they get after you typically are people similar. And when you're both on a vibration, 199 or less, or if they have an empath, but they're beat down and they're a toxic enabler, they may be like at a 250 or something, you know? It doesn't really change their aura. They need to cloak themselves in the fruits of the spirit. So they could seduce. They can't seduce being snappy and yelling and screaming at people and projecting upon them. They have to be calm, cool, collective, focused, and sounding like they're sweet, kind, and they're not out to get you. That's the ensnare. And then once they get you, well, then they can do whatever they want with you. But they need a lot of fuel, a lot of energy, and they need the right kind to make things happen in their life so they can be successful. They need that type of energy. And without it, they kind of crumble. If they had you for a long time, they have to go down, or they have to get like 20 different forms of supply, because that's what it would take. That's how much fuel you give. And a lot of people, when you get older, this is the problem. When you get older, people are kind of keen to it. Older people are not going to get involved with crazy individuals because they know financially it's not a good idea. They ain't trying to have that. They're not going to be getting involved with them because it's not worth it. And people these days have no problem breaking up with individuals. They'll break up with a narcissist quicker than a narcissist will break up with them. So because things have changed in society, it makes it hard for them when they get older. Also, if you're in arrested development, you're going to be acting with this childhood type mentality in certain cases, certain ways about you. And people don't like the idea of that when they get older. They also like peace. They want to chill out when they get older. They don't want all that chaos. And the narcissist is always and constantly pushing chaos on individuals. And a lot of older people are like, I could have done that when I was 20, but not now. It's a whole different energy for you and what you're thinking about and looking for. And they have problems because a lot of times it's based on, they used a lot of their look is what attracts them to individuals. And as you get older, you have less individuals that are willing to date you just because you don't look as beautiful as you did previous. It's just a fact. I mean, so these are the kind of things that affect them. Plus, there's so many narcissists out here now that makes it worse for them as well. It's like there might have been, let's say there was 20% of the population was narcissists maybe 20 years ago, but now it's like 40%. I'm just throwing out numbers that they don't even add up. So when they get out there, they're going to have less empathic people to choose from by 20%. And then you have twice as many narcissists fighting over the few empaths that are available. And empaths are loyal. So it's not like an empath's going to be dating multiple people. So when an empath decides to date somebody, that's it, you know. But it's what they can do, how they benefit. You give them different highs, you know, when they can get you off your rocker. That makes them feel important because they know that you are a high quality individual. You mean what you say and you say what you mean. Normally the people they would have are not like that. They're doing the same thing they are. So when they would try to punk somebody else that's on their same level, it's just not the same. They're both lying, cheating, stealing. But when they take an innocent person and they're able to do it, it means so much. It brings value to them, really. I know it sounds sick. When they cheat on you, it brings value to them. When they cheat on somebody that cheats all the time too, it just doesn't mean the same. It's just the same. I mean, it's how it works. It's how it works. When they have your fuel, it's so much better. And when it's not there anymore and they can't get it, they can't find it. Maybe it'll take them a decade to find another one. Maybe generally they never find another one like you again. That's where you become the unicorn. There's like only one unicorn out there, it's you. And they lost it and it's gone. There's a lot of like cattle out there and goats and sheep and lions and tigers, but there's not any more unicorns. That's how it feels. And you'll never hear them tell you how much. And generally, if they do tell you that they needed you or they missed you or whatever, or they regret doing what they did, that's generally the fake part of them in that time period. But generally in their mind, it's probably a revolving thing that never ends. It's just they don't have the ability to be vulnerable. Everything's locked inside. Everything, they're vulnerable and is stuck interiorly. It's almost like if somebody was in a building and they can hear their own echo when they talk. That's as far as their vulnerability gets. It never gets outside of their avatar. They just don't express. They don't express. Vulnerability and expression. They don't express those kinds of things. They fake them because they don't feel them. They don't express, they suppress. When they come into your life, they do that to you. They suppress you. So that's what I have for you. Give me a like, subscription, and thumbs up. Love you all till next time. Soldier up. Peace. We out.